Hold on now, because this video is going to be fast and cheap. Really fast and fitting the tawdry subject matter, really cheap. Now, if you need a nice, easily digestible capsule summary of the sex crime allegations brought against those in the atheist and skeptical community because you haven't been paying attention for the past few years, then this is not the video for you. Also, should I offend any of the scumbags mentioned in this video, then good. They can send me a nice hot cup of their salty, fresh tears, as I'm told that sort of thing is delicious. I'll tell you this much by way of background, and forgive me if I get some minor detail or other wrong. Then again, so many of the people involved, and moreover those flacking for them by disseminating worthless opinions in our faces like an undercranked bukkake video, have been so loose with the facts, not including the ones they just made up, that I should be spotted a couple. As you may be painfully aware of, the Ad Hoc Committee for Social Justice Badgering and Fashion Victim Feminism Anti-Sex League have been running an ambitious long-term project to decapitate the de facto leadership of the online atheist and skeptical community and seek their own form of rough justice through internet trial by ordeal. Though oddly, through all of these allegations of illegal, immoral, and mostly drunken behavior, not one authority has been notified, not one police report filed, and the only person figuring in this ongoing campaign that has ever seen the inside of a police station was Karen Stollsnow, and that had nothing to do with Ben Radford. It was just for her beating the tar out of Baxter, which no one gave a shit about, least of all, considering he married her, Baxter. Allegations against Michael Shermer were made because, he was next in line, and that in Peasy Meyer's artlessly titled blog post, "What do you do when someone pulls the pin and hands you a grenade?" I don't know. Run? Throw it away? Maybe you should wonder who's this someone handing out grenades. The someone turned out to have been Carrie Poppy, who, after failing in her attempt to be the official manic pixie girlfriend of the skeptical community, now operates as a jaded spirit medium for bullshit anonymous accusations. Peasy Myers could have answered his own question enough to cue in the accusers that the last thing they should do with a hand grenade, as we will see, is stick it up their own ass. In any case, the pineapple imagery that Freethought Blogs loves only slightly less than porcupines put Peasy Myers in the same class as something awful, just not nearly as funny, but much more awful. Myers fairly exuded greasy, "Oh no, I just couldn't" glee because Shermer, aside from being publisher of Skeptic magazine, is also the author of numerous books, none of which are compilations of his old blog posts copied and pasted in an act of 3 a.m. deadline approach desperation. Shermer was accused via the Freethought Blog Skeptic Center for Inquiry Ouija board of raping a woman at a skeptics convention, and that well before Elevator Guy and Monopod Man had their 15 minutes of clickbait moral panic infamy. As is typical of witch hunts and moral panics, and think here of the McMartin preschool case and satanic ritual abuse scare of the late 1980s, once an initial accusation is made, others tend to line up to say, "Me too." Eventually you had parents sporting bumper stickers that read, "My kid was also flushed down the toilet and molested by Chuck Norris at McMartin preschool." No, I didn't just do a Family Guy manatee joke there. That was actually one of the allegations made by kiddies after investigators got done using them as human hand puppets. Now, in this case, one woman claimed Michael Shermer plied her with drinks in order to get into her size 16 pants, when, it turns out, all Shermer did was exist and take up space while servers refilled everyone's wine glasses. Now, if you have a pencil and paper handy, you can now draw a Venn diagram showing the intersection between someone making accusations of that sort and deluded paranoids, narcissists, and lightweight drinkers. And it's easy because all you need to do is draw a circle. Of course, these anonymous accusations, by being cloaked in anonymity, could not be verified or disproved. But once the accuser, and more importantly, the details of the accusation were known, they collapsed from their own weight. In a perverse reversal of skepticism in the social justice skeptical community, all's fair when it came to making accusations, while nothing is considered more unforgivably evil by the fuchsia-haired social justice anti-sex league than proving to any sane person's satisfaction that these accusers were more full of shit than the combined colon of your local Overeaters Anonymous. Of course, in play here is the verbal sleight of hand, where we aren't asked to believe the accuser. Accusation would give the unfortunate impression that the truth of the matter was still up for grabs, whereas any right-thinking woo skeptic knows these things are preordained, a matter of truth with an omniscient capital T. Instead, we're asked to believe the victim. These special sort of victims are such by virtue of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or doing stupid things expecting non-stupid results, thinking people were out to get them, which is erroneous as it implies people were paying attention to them at all, or by just getting too staggering drunk to know exactly whose pants they were pissing in. These kind of victims are pure in thought, word, and deed, bathed in the ethereal glow of ultimate don't touch my Barbie suffering, and, as hipster Christ arisen, prone to getting all PTSD flinchy around Twitter rather than, say, 10-penny nails. Now, if you criticize a woman, for example, for engaging in ethically lax amorous exploits, that's slut-shaming and will not be tolerated. However, if you catch a man in any sexual activity that isn't carefully vetted and pre-approved by a coven of sex negatives, desiccated prudes, and selective moral scolds, then that's rape. Which is a positive boon to the sort of old-school rapists who actually rape, as the sexual witch hunters have so expanded the definition of the term and so removed any agency from women in the process that the word is at best meaningless and, at worst, outrageously sexist. Now, within the congregation of pablum-spewing skeptics in name only that is the JREF Forum, a group of unreformed skeptics from the slime pit began asking questions. Who was the accuser? What was the actual accusation? And who did what to whom when? You know, the sort of stuff that makes you an asshole in social justice skepticism for just asking. Although slime pitters have been calling bullshit on social justice warriors back when those now finally calling bullshit on social justice warriors was still waiting for their balls to drop, in the JREF Forum we were as doomed as the Roanoke colony under the heavy-handed slash-and-burn moderation which promoted woo skepticism in general and the question-begging canard of believe the victim every chance they got. Now, fortunately for the James Randi Educational Foundation proper, under their reorganization, they will be cutting the forum loose, where it can rebrand itself as Skepticism Plus and, using the Atheism Plus model, streamline itself into a mean and lean organization composed of nothing but moderators calling each other out. However, you need not have been following this hand grenade egg rolling through the atheist and skeptical community, or follow the ongoing and severely brain-damaged discussion on the JREF forums to appreciate the endgame in all its twisted, morally fucked up glory. It goes something like this. Turns out the person accusing Michael Shermer of rape was someone working for the James Randi Educational Foundation by the name of Allison Smith.
Hi, my name is Allison Smith, and I'm the founder of Skeptical Analysis of the Paranormal Society. I'm also a research assistant for the James Randi Educational Foundation, where I negotiate initial protocols for the $1 million Paranormal Challenge.
Who did much of the organizing for the Amazing Meeting 2008. Somewhere in the process of watching her organization of this TAM come to fruition, and I assume in her official capacity to reward herself for a job well done, she decided to follow the official Skeptic Free Thought blog Center for Inquiry guidelines for serious conference going by getting outrageously shit-faced drunk. According to Michael Shermer, a very drunk Allison Smith propositioned him in a hotel bathroom, which he declined even though, hey, it doesn't get any hotter than that. But apparently he believed he had a rain check for a little bit of stooping when she had sufficiently sobered up.
As chairwoman of the reception committee, I welcome you with open arms.
Is that so? How late do you stay open?
Accounts vary on how much time elapsed for Allison Smith to sober up, or whether later in the evening she was still incoherent drunk at a scotch and cigar party. But Allison Smith eventually found herself in Michael Shermer's room at the Flamingo Hilton, where wicks were wetted, sausages hidden, and all manner of terrible, soul-rending, squicky things occurred that should never happen to an innocently drunk woman-child. Honestly, I have no solution to the pressing issue of drunk sex, at least none that lies in the no-man's land between my body, my choice, or keep the government out of the bedroom, and sending the SWAT team rappelling in through the window should any woman attempt doing the nasty with a blood alcohol level greater than 0. Shermer may be a ladies' man, he may be a creep, he may be playing stick your dick in crazy Russian roulette. Your guess and Rorschach test is as good as mine. What I do know is, if you're a speaker at an organization's event, you shouldn't be banging one of the organizers. And if you're an organizer at an event, you shouldn't be banging one of your speakers. And everyone is a dumb fuck for being so gracelessly part of the tedious and tawdry drunken sex dysfunctional culture that has turned conventions in the atheist and skeptical community into a not quite drunk enough to fuck joke. I don't know what it is about having a hotel room, a minibar, and a dorky-looking name tag that makes everyone positively lose their shit. But here's a suggestion. If you can't drink without getting obliterated and can't keep your genitals stowed, then shut the fuck up and stop complaining. What kind of performance reviews do they do at the JREF anyway? They must read something like, "And at the TAM, little Susie organizer performed her duties competently and with professionalism, right up to the point where she ended faceplant drunk in the hotel entrance flower bed, her pink pantied ass stuck up in the air while a charter bus full of elderly nickel keno players watched beer shits bubble out of her ass crack." I'm sorry, is that victim blaming? No, it's not, because there are no victims in this equation, only assholes. And asshole blaming is not only permitted, it's mandatory. And Shermer, does he really want his book jacket blurb to read, "As a speaker, Michael Shermer is adept at plowing through the most difficult of skeptical topics and the sweet young help"? Stop it already. As a he said, she said, where the saying is 6 full years after the fact, what actually transpired can't be known. And the facts, what there are not only fogged with alcohol and time, but with ideological considerations of just how much consent a drunk chick can give, complete with confusion over the concept of being in an alcoholic blackout where one may act completely lucid, giving enthusiastic consent, and yet retain no memory of doing so, that opposed to a guy sticking his dick in a passed-out drunk. However, if you take as a given what Smith claims, or rather give credence to the memory she has recently recovered, something seriously disturbing emerges aside from the alleged rape itself, which is obviously bad enough, mostly because it involves ugly people fucking. You see, although Michael Shermer's accuser benefited from the cloak of anonymity, a cloak that social justice warriors have been known to tear at when they aren't the ones wearing it, it turns out that one poster on the JREF forum thread devoted to discussing these accusations and going by the name Remy V turned out to be Allison Smith herself. Which, if you think about it, is not only a great way to advocate for yourself by being your own sock puppet, but also a rather efficient way to get a heads up on what you, as an accuser, should be remembering and what you should be forgetting, and what questions, when asked, should make you forget you understand English. In her final draft, Smith has a very different recollection than Shermer of what transpired 6 years ago. She claims to have been exceptionally intoxicated and never sobered up before she was coerced, apparently through being invited, into Shermer's hotel room. Oddly enough, for a scandal that revolves around drunk fucking, it's the drunk fucking that really is the most uninteresting factor in the whole equation. Maybe you just had to be there. I'll leave it to others to argue over why it is that a brain full of booze connected to a vagina renders one stripped of their responsibility and accountability, or the difference between blacked out and passed out, or the ethics of a 50-something man banging a 20-something woman when no money, one way or another, is going to change hands because, let's face it, that's how it usually works, or any other pressing questions for those who love to jack themselves off in a rage frenzy over a good sex scandal. Here's the part I find interesting. After whatever happened, Allison Smith claims she wandered out of Michael Shermer's room and into one of those darn elevators, where she curled up, confused, distraught, and crying, uncertain as to where she was, and using her cell phone, called not 911, but her boyfriend and, as general manager of the JREF, her employer, Jeff Wagg. Through a miraculous stroke of luck that gives remote viewing a run for its money, the rescue party was able to locate Smith in one elevator of all the elevators of all the hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. She was so fucked up beyond the normal standard for skeptical conventioneering, which seems to range from mild alcohol poisoning to preservation in the Smithsonian's permanent collection, that she had to be poured out of there in a wheelchair. Now here comes the rant, which is really not directed at Allison Smith, with an accuser whose account of events, if not demonstrably false, are rendered questionable through inebriation and whatever confabulation and reconstructed memory that occur over the course of years. It's hard to demarcate between someone being mendacious or just subject to fallible memory process, or somewhere in it all just trying to save their own ass. Or then again, what she claims may be 100% true. In fact, let's start with that assumption. You see, from this point on, I'm not going to doubt Allison Smith's story, nor am I going to doubt Jeff Wagg's account supporting it with who knew what when circa 6 years ago. For the sake of this bit of argument, I will consider the latest version of events to be completely true and accurate, and therefore I will assume that Michael Shermer had coerced sexual relations with someone too inebriated to give meaningful consent and is in fact a stone-cold rapist. So, Consider. After it was revealed in the JREF thread that the Remy V who was discussing the accusation of rape against Michael Shermer was also the Allison Smith who made the accusation of rape against Michael Shermer, the dutiful Jeff Wagg put in an appearance to back up the claim that Allison Smith was wheeled out of the Flamingo Hilton as a fire hazard, professing that she had been raped. Wagg was asked straight out if he knew that night or some reasonable time afterwards that Allison Smith, his then girlfriend and employee, had been raped. He answered unequivocally, not subject to interpretation, in one word: yes. Now let that sink in for a moment. Then consider what Jeff Wagg did that night and forever after, which is absolutely nothing. Or rather, worse than nothing. Think of it, you're at a convention in Las Vegas with your girlfriend/employee who seems bent on sliding down the spiral banister of drunk and drunker. Somewhere approaching midnight, drunk girlfriend goes missing, loose in Las Vegas. Maybe you get a phone call from her while she is out for a walk, but thereafter she drops off the radar. Or maybe she just has plans and doesn't want you hanging around. In any case, after your epic bout of incuriosity, she calls you in the wee hours of the morning, all kinds of worse for wear, and somewhere in this act of faith healing with a crippled walk because you've got their wheelchair, you learn your girlfriend has just been squeezed out of the other side of a rape. And as a bonus, you save the money you might have spent on a seedy Clark County private detective who metes out his own form of brutish justice because, hot damn, the rapist is right there in the hotel. And you do nothing. In fact, you do worse than nothing. A couple of weeks later, your raped and traumatized girlfriend and co-worker, obviously suffering from a form of fast-acting Stockholm syndrome, does a write-up in the JREF Swift pages about what a wonderful thing the TAM was and how a good time was had by all, and your contribution is a high-horse opinion piece on the same page, bearing the title, How to Make a Difference. The gods of heavy-handed irony fucking wept. All things being equal and taking all claims at face value, what kind of apathetic, pussy-ass, vestigially bald, metrosexual, doormat piece of shit do you have to be to make all that, namely nothing, happen? You don't call the police, you don't file a report, you don't preserve evidence, corral witnesses, access security cameras, or prevent the rapist from skipping town. Not only do you let the rapist go scot-free because reasons, but you allow the rapist to continue at the convention making rape buys at the next drunk young thing, and then, what the hell, why not proceed with business as usual, invite the rapist to later conventions and speaking gigs so you can all hang out together, you, your girlfriend, and the guy who raped her.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
This I posted on the JREF forum. I was trying to wrap my brain around this photo then, and remember, assuming all claims of rape are true, I'm trying to wrap my brain around it now. Presuming everything Allison Smith and Jeff Wagg say is true, look at this photo taken at Dragon Con a mere 2 months after the rape. In it, you have the smiling rapist with his hands on the smiling rape victim, and as ultimate third-wheel donut tire, you have the rape victim's boyfriend who knows she was raped by the guy, smiling like a fucking moron.
What happened? Did your balls drop off?
Also, if you're Jeff Wagg, you presumably don't inform the organization you work for that another one of its employees was raped by a speaker at one of its conventions. You just go blithely along, like nothing happened. Not only do you do nothing to protect, or at least after the fact avenge someone you supposedly care about, you also do nothing to protect your organization, or more importantly, the women who work for your organization and the women who attend your organization's conventions, because you have this highly enlightened, hands-off policy towards known rapists. On one hand, you have what Jeff Wagg should have done when he learned his girlfriend was raped, and on the other hand, you have what Jeff Wagg should have done as an employee of JREF and as an employer of Allison Smith. That the concepts of boyfriend, girlfriend, and employer are so mixed up show how incestuous and nepotistic this bunch of people is. And how, if Jeff Wagg, the JREF general manager, can be doing the old bone dance with Allison Smith, one of their research assistants and organizers, then why the fuck can't a speaker do a little surreptitious drunk fucking with said organizer? Boundaries? What the fuck are those? Boundaries are for little people, not these elevated, friendly, and lively skeptics who specialize in telling you what to think, what to do, and who to do. Really, I would tell these assholes to go fuck themselves, but they're way ahead of me. Gamergate? Amateurs! You know, with all these harassment policies where everyone loves adding their own special blend of paranoia, protecting us from t-shirts and fake jewelry and monopods and Nescafe moments in elevators, you would think there would be a sentence or two in there, being that we can't rely on fucking common sense, that conference organizers should not be bouncing around their conventions like Jell-O shot flubber, that office romances and casual supply closet hookups are unprofessional and generally a bad idea, and that actual crimes committed at conventions should be reported to the police.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Or maybe now, if you're Jeff Wagg and you've painted yourself into this sort of deep, dark corner, you say, what the hell, claim you did inform the higher-ups at the JREF, kick that grenade upstairs, and give the 80-something guy a fucking stroke. Or maybe, somewhere in the back of your head, you realize even if your girlfriend claims she was raped, that's exactly the sort of thing she would say to her silly putty boss/significant other when she's in the repose phase of a little extracurricular convention star-fucking. We have only two options here, and one is worse than the other. One, the story of the rape, at least the part Jeff Wagg played in it, is false, in which case those backing the play of the accuser are shitty human beings. Two, the story of the rape is true, and considering all the subsequent non-action, the people who did jack shit about it are even shittier human beings. Organizationally, this may well be the case. The JREF forum handled the revelations as you would expect from a bunch of elite skeptics who were determined to get at the truth and would, damn the consequences, follow the evidence straight into the mouth of hell. Yeah, the fuck they did. Actually, after months and months and pages of discussing the allegations against Michael Shermer and others, when the same allegations began to boomerang back on the organization and its employees, the JREF forum locked the thread, shut down discussion, gave me a week's suspension for not being subservient enough to their newly formed opinion that enough is enough. And then, just to add insult to injury, Jeff Wagg, the poster boy for not getting it, posted this on his Facebook wall. Yeah, Jeff, I'm the douchebag. You know, one would think someone so immersed in Star Trek geek culture that they could make an obscure fanboy reference to Wolf 359 would have picked up an ethical pointer or two, you know, about the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the one, or something like that. Again, one has to ask, and keep asking, what moral universe do these people live in? Grenade. I don't know. Run? Throw it away? Maybe you should wonder who's this someone handing out grenades. The someone turned out to have been Carrie Poppy, who, after failing in her attempt to be the official manic pixie girlfriend of the skeptical community, now operates as a jaded spirit medium for bullshit anonymous accusations. P.Z. Myers could have answered his own question enough to cue in the accusers that the last thing they should do with a hand grenade, as we will see, is stick it up their own ass. In any case, the pineapple imagery that Freethought Blogs loves only slightly less than porcupines put Peasy Myers in the same class as something awful, just not nearly as funny, but much, much more awful. Myers fairly exuded greasy, "Oh no, I just couldn't" glee because Shermer, aside from being publisher of Skeptic magazine, is also the author of numerous books, none of which are compilations of his old blog posts copied and pasted in an act of 3 a.m. deadline approach desperation. Shermer was accused via the Freethought Blog Skeptic Center for Inquiry Ouija board of raping a woman at a skeptics convention, and that well before Elevator Guy and Monopod Man had their 15 minutes of clickbait moral panic infamy. As is typical of witch hunts and moral panics, and think here of the McMartin preschool case and satanic ritual abuse scare of the late 1980s, rough justice through internet trial by ordeal. Though oddly, through all of these allegations of illegal, immoral, and mostly drunken behavior, not one authority has been notified, not one police report filed, and the only person figuring in this ongoing campaign that has ever seen the inside of a police station was Karen Stolznow, and that had nothing to do with Ben Radford. It was just for her beating the tar out of Baxter, which no one gave a shit about, least of all, considering he married her, Baxter. Allegations against Michael Shermer were made because, he was next in line, and that in Peasy Myers' artlessly titled blog post, "What do you do when someone pulls the pin and hands you send me a nice hot cup of their salty, fresh tears," as I'm told that sort of thing is delicious. I'll tell you this much by way of background, and forgive me if I get some minor detail or other wrong. Then again, so many of the people involved, and moreover those flacking for them by disseminating worthless opinions in our faces like an undercranked bukkake video, have been so loose with the facts, not including the ones they just made up, that I should be spotted a couple. As you may be painfully aware of, the Ad Hoc Committee for Social Justice Badgering and Fashion Victim Feminism Anti-Sex League have been running an ambitious long-term project to decapitate the de facto leadership of the online atheist and skeptical community and seek their own form of Hold on now, because this video is going to be fast and cheap. Really fast and fitting the tawdry subject matter, really, really cheap. Now, if you need a nice, easily digestible capsule summary of the sex crime allegations brought against those in the atheist and skeptical community because you haven't been paying attention for the past few years, then this is not the video for you. Also, should I offend any of the scumbags mentioned in this video, then good. They can